Welcome to the FemiNinja Project. I am your host, Cheryl I Love, middle-aged ninja hiding in plain sight, dedicated to restoring human dignity one person at a time and helping you unleash your personal power. Discover that it's possible to look like a woman, act like a lady, move like a ninja, and think like a warrior. And remember, men are always welcome on the FemiNinja Project. Welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And today we're going to be talking to a happiness ninja. This lady empowers elementary school children how to be happy and to spread happiness and how to give themselves positive affirmations so they can have a positive, happy, and healthy outlook on life. So help me welcome Marrielle Monte to the show. Welcome, Marrielle.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. It's so wonderful to be here.
I am
Thank you
so
for inviting
happy
me.
to have you on the show. We've been trying to get this going for a long time.
We have. I'm so happy to be here. This is awesome.
I do just want to let the audience know that you're also an actress, a dancer, a comedian, as well as, of course, the happiness activist and affirmation aficionado.
I wear many hats. I wear many hats.
You're very busy.
Very busy. Absolutely. But busy's good, I think.
So tell us, how in the world did you get involved with being a happiness activist or the happiness ninja? How did this all start?
Absolutely. Well, it started actually with my side gig, which is I work in direct sales. I work with a direct sales company called Neora, and it's a health and wellness and anti-aging company. And when I started that company with them, I didn't think that I'd be on a personal journey of, self-examination and to grow. I didn't think it would be any kind of journey like that. And that's actually what their whole motto is making people better. So within that, the CEO, Jeff Olson, he's the author of The Slight Edge. Actually, he created a magazine called Live Happy. And when they introduced Live Happy to all of us brand partners with Neora, I was like, oh my gosh, I am home. I've always been like a happy person. I have my days. I've been through, lots and lots. That's a whole nother conversation.
Well, maybe we'll have that one again someday.
Absolutely.
We'll have you back on the show.
Thanks. But it all started with that. So once we started to work with Live Happy magazine, right around the same time, the United Nations deemed March 20th as the International Day of Happiness. Mm-hmm. And I just took it and ran. The very first year, my son was in kindergarten, and I thought, I need to take this to the schools. So in kindergarten, I went into the teacher and I said, hey, I'm going to teach him a little happy dance. Would you mind? It's the International Day of Happiness. And she kind of let me, but we didn't tell anybody. And I took the kids through it. Well, the next year I was like, this is a big deal. I want to talk, teach everybody this. With my background in performing arts, I went up to the principal and I said, hey, I have this great idea. Well, she looked at me like a deer in headlights. She's like, what? Who are you? She knew I was a mom, but she had no idea what my background was.
Did she know that you had done this for your son's kindergarten the year before?
No, she didn't. And I didn't even really mention it. And the teacher, she was kind of on board, the kindergarten teacher, but it wasn't as much, like, it wasn't full of magic because they were kindergartners. It was great though, as the magic that happened with the elementary students was just off the charts. It was just crazy. So she didn't know who I was, and so she thought, okay, well, the kids have to move, so we will give you the gym classes for one day. And I thought, oh, that's fabulous, thank you. And so I went into the gym classes. So I was there from 8:30 till 3. And every class that came in, they didn't really know what was going on. And I introduced myself and told them about the International Day of Happiness and said what we were going to do. I gave them my background a little bit because they didn't really know, who I was, maybe just a mom there. But I told them I worked on Broadway. I danced with Madonna. I've done Super Bowl commercials, all these fun dance things. And so I had to gain the respect because these kids can be a little tough,
Yes, they can.
So I taught them the dance, and I am telling you, they lit up. They had such a good time, such a good time. Kids that came in with like grumpy face, they didn't want to move or dance. They had big smiles when they left. And after I taught the dance, I brought them all in, and it just happened organically. I wanted them to know that I don't wake up happy. Like I'm not always, it's just who we are. Our brains are wired to actually see the negative and find and seek out the negative to like protect ourselves. That's like the old caveman thing. So I wanted them to know that I'm not always happy. And I brought them in. I said, I wake up and I'm not always happy, but when I'm not, I go to the mirror and I look at myself and I say, I am awesome. And they, oh my gosh, they cracked up. They thought I was like crazy. They did. And I said, I know it's so goofy, right? But try it. Just try it. Repeat after me. And I took them through these, like 10 or 15 positive affirmations, positive statements. And oh my gosh. And I was like, just let go, punch in the air, jump up and down, scream it out. And they just went crazy. It was so much fun. They got so excited that like they were on a big round circle around me in the gym, so it's a big space. They were so close to me that if anybody could have like pushed one person, we all would have fallen. This is like 26 kids at a time. It was that energy. Oh my gosh. And so it was just amazing because they had no idea that they could speak to themselves like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first class, they were actually sixth graders. This boy came up to me afterwards and he said, this is the best day of my life. Oh. And it just like, I was like, I got choked up. I'm like, thank you so much. I'm so happy you enjoyed it. But like, who knew that is exactly like what they needed,
And something so simple.
Oh,
just
yes.
giving them the permission and the space to be able to jump around and to yell and not to have something so structured that they have to hold back or do something right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to, it's so important because kids before that, I think it's the age of 2, get told no like 5,000 times.
Oh.
It is crazy. I could have that backwards. It could be before 5, it's 2,000, something like that. I'll look it up. And so
but it's a lot.
It's a lot. And so it's constantly, don't do this, do this, and all they hear is no, no, no. So I think their self-esteem gets lost in there. And so for them to empower their own brain to like realize how powerful their brain is and to say, I am amazing, I am smart, I am kind, I am a good person, like I'm not a bad person, is so important. And so that's what, after that day, it was class after class after class. It was crazy. It was so amazing that what I went through was such a huge, like growing day. Besides them, it was amazing. And so I went to the principal in the middle of the day and I said, hey, I have this idea. She still thought I was crazy. I said, we need to flash mob on the field outside. Oh, and she looked at me a little crazy. And actually this was the second year. So she let me come back and she said, okay, because she knew how successful it was. You can have the whole school. And so every grade came in this year with, at the same time. It was amazing.
And how many kids are you talking about?
So total, it was like 500.
Oh, geez.
So every grade was probably about 70, probably, yeah, between 30 and 60, I guess. And so it was like over 500 kids. And that's the day I said, we have to go flash mob outside. So she came back in half an hour. She goes, you got it. You get the last 15 minutes of the day. The music teacher is going to roll out the music and we're just going to pack them up. And this is going to be the last 15 minutes. And I was just tickled. I just got goosebumps. I was so excited. So here they all come out. They've all learned the dance. They were all jazzed. It was great. And we start doing the dance and the parents are walking up to come pick them up. They had no idea what was going on. It was just such amazing energy. They see their kids like they've never seen them. Cause maybe some people have dance parties, on Friday nights, but really it was amazing. The feedback I got from the parents was just, they couldn't believe it. They were so overwhelmed with gratitude. It was amazing.
So how many years ago was that?
So since I did the gyms and on was the last 5 years.
Okay. And You're still doing them every year?
I am. They ask me back every year. In fact, this year, because we're all on shutdown here, I might be doing a virtual one. So we're talking about doing a virtual dance party.
Oh,
so to
I think
speak.
that would be so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Me
And
too.
you really ought to record it or get some video of it. I think that
Oh
would just
yeah.
be so wonderful. What a great idea, especially now because we can all use a little bit more happiness in our lives, period. But right now, we're still going through, hopefully by the time this is live, the end of COVID. But it's been
Right.
really tough. And I just can't imagine how difficult it must be for that age group.
Oh, I think so as well. I do too. And that's why I've just started offering, I'm doing a reading on Saturday, a free reading online. Actually, I'm going to do it on Zoom, but I've been marketing it online to just have kids come in, and we're going to do an interactive, fun reading of the book. And then they get the goodness of the book, and I'll make a little lesson in that as to how to really do it. And that's kind of what the book is all about.
Okay. So let's
So
backtrack just a little bit because you are an author and you have written a book called Magic Thinking for Kids. And this book was based on basically your experience in going into the schools and teaching them the happy dance and the happy affirmations and the positivity, correct?
yes, that's exactly how it happened. So I was never an author before, I was a performer, and I always knew I wanted to. I thought, gosh, it would be such a great experience to be an author, but like, what do I have to talk about? Like, I had no idea, like, I didn't have anything to talk about. And
Right.
so it was crazy. I like found a voice. I found something that I was passionate about. And so after that first day, that very first year, I was like, I did all this research, and there was maybe only one book. Louise Hay had one book out that had anything to do with positive affirmations or for children. And I thought,
Wow.
this is a huge market for these kids. They need to know how amazing they are, and that they can tell themselves how amazing they are. And so I fumbled my way through it, made a little dummy book, and then I sat on it for 2 years because I really didn't know what to do with it. And then
Mhm.
I found an amazing company here in Denver called My Word Publishing, and they just scooped me up. They did all the heavy lifting. I worked with an editor, so we edited it a little bit, and boom, I put it out within 6 months. It was incredible.
That is My Word Publishing. We sure do like them, don't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're a wonderful company. So if anybody who's listening is interested in writing and publishing a book, it can be done. So you might want to contact My Word Publishing. Polly Latovsky is the owner and the founder of the company. She's an amazing woman. So there's a little plug there for Polly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I say I could have probably put this book out myself and done it through Fiverr and done it myself, but it would have never been the book that it is. I mean, it's won 2 awards, and it would have never gotten to that level if My Word did not help me, honestly.
I won one with my book, and
Mhm.
because I went through My Word as well, and I never could have gotten that if I hadn't done it the way that I did. They are really a top-notch company.
Oh, absolutely.
So tell us, before we go into that a little bit more, there are a few more things I want you to talk about, but
Mhm.
what I found very interesting with it, you said you found something, you found your voice, you found something you were really passionate about, and how it was just something that was so organic and visceral and deep inside of you. So I thought this must have been such a different experience from like acting, because I've never seen you act. I'm sure you're an amazing actress. But when you're doing something like acting, you're taking somebody else's character on and you're portraying that character.
Mhm.
But now it's like you're really embodying your own power and your own sense of who you are.
Exactly. Which is terrifying.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because at one other time in my life that I also felt I didn't have anything to say, and then I got divorced. I've been married. I'm remarried now, but I was divorced, and I thought, oh boy, do I have something to say? So, so I took it to the stage, and that's when I started stand up. But otherwise, I wouldn't have had anything to say. So finding this, and like you say, with acting, I'm hiding behind somebody else's words and a character that I've created for this. So it's not really me. And so now this is really me, but I'm so passionate about helping other people that I need to do this. I have to do this,
Mhm.
and when I was young, I was not like, I had a solo in a show and I cried my way out of it because I didn't want to be the center of attention, and
Oh,
so, yeah. Oh, it's crazy. I was 6 years old. It was just nuts. So for me to have something to share that I feel so strongly about is actually getting me through some of my fears that I've always had. And it's a lot of people's fears, you know, public speaking is like the number one thing that people are afraid to do in their life. But it's such a journey. I
It's
just
so
love it.
amazing how you went from being that terrified little girl crying because you didn't want to do the part to what you're doing now and the path that you've chosen, or the path that was actually meant for you and you just kind of followed it along. But I know it must have been terrifying.
Oh, it was, and it is at sometimes depending who I'm in front of. But it's funny that you choose what you really need to learn. You
Hmm.
know,
Yes.
like I mean, I loved dancing. I could dance, you know, all day long. But to you know be pointed out and be the center of attention is always a different thing for me. So it's really really exciting that I'm still growing. No,
Hmm.
I'm not perfect. I still have lots of things to work on. So through this I'm helping other people, you know, grow as well, which
Well,
is
especially children in that age group. But you do segue into adults, don't you?
I do. Recently, I have been asked to speak at a couple adult community centers and events. So I have, you know, working on two different speeches, one for kids and one for adults, and it's amazing. I think that the universal just truth about we need to feel good about ourselves,
Hmm.
and in life, stuff happens that you know breaks you down, and you have to be strong enough to be able to flip those scripts. we
Exactly.
have we have about 60,000 thoughts that go through our brain a day, and literally 80% are negative and repeated from the day before. So
Hmm.
we need to crack that code and to be able to switch those scripts.
Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, we talk about that in a lot of the work that I do and have done, you know, with Feldenkrais and a couple of the other things. But it's, you know, what you believe is what you become, and what you hear from other people and what you tell yourself is really
Absolutely.
important, because those messages, the brain doesn't determine whether they're true or false. It's
No.
just logging it in like a computer. And if you're
Hmm.
hearing that negative self talk over and over and over, you really believe it. And then you become, you know, what you're thinking, or what you're saying to yourself,
Hmm.
and all of those limitations, and
Absolutely. They
breaking
just go
through that,
away.
it's
Hmm.
it's hard.
Yeah, it's so hard, but we have to realize that, and this is how I speak to the adults. I can speak more on a scientific level, not that I'm a scientist whatsoever, but I've done a lot of reading,
Right.
that our subconscious mind is just a computer, like you said, and
Hmm.
it does what we tell it to do. So if we tell ourselves how smart we are, it will believe and work around the whole idea that yes, you're very smart, and this is what happens. It is amazing. So you can tell yourself anything, and so it goes positive and it goes negative. If you tell yourself you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're this, it will also react and bring those and energies into your life and situations.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you used those words, because those are the three I always used to use about myself. I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm stupid.
uh, you are
Oh,
so not number one.
oh, you're so sweet.
Can't
Thank
believe
you.
that.
Well, it's true. And I'll never forget the day that I found out and that I realized that I wasn't. And it was in a Feldenkrais training. It's a kind of a funny story, but it was very powerful. We were in this dance room, Denver Turnverein. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a huge old dance hall that was built in the
Oh wow.
1940s, with tiny little skinny mirrors all over the room. Make a long story short, there were a bunch of people in the room, and we were doing this one Feldenkrais lesson where we were kind of turning around, and way across the end of the room, I saw this woman, and I thought, whoa, I need to get to know her. There was something about her that was just so appealing and attractive that I thought, I really want to get to know her. As soon as this is over, I'm going to go seek her out and introduce myself. And after the lesson was over and I went to look for her, and she was gone. I couldn't find her anywhere. And my heart was broken. I felt like I had lost my best friend before I even got to know her. And, you know, I got even a little teary, which I never cry. I'm the ice maiden.
Yeah.
And I turned around and there was a mirror right in front of me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there she is. And it
Isn't
was
that
me.
oh my God, isn't that amazing?
And
It's
I wanted to smack myself across the head. And it's like, what have you been telling yourself? And who have you been listening to?
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And that's what, we're a product of our environment. So absolutely. And we all listen to it. We can't not listen.
Right. To our
So
internal environment.
yes, and internal and external, I believe. So, but we do have control over that, which is amazing that you saw who you really were. How
I
cool.
was, Marrielle, I was 50 years old at the time. So I'm so happy that you're teaching kids at the age of 5, 6, 7, and 8 how to do that.
Well, I am too, because the story, it goes that growing up, I was one of 6 kids, and my dad was a hothead Italian, and he would be, we'd do something wrong, like didn't close the door, didn't this, and he'd be like, you stupid kid, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Well, when you hear that, you think you're stupid,
Yeah.
and so I'm finding out now that why I really am passionate about helping kids is because I didn't have that when I was a kid, and I needed that. And so I don't want a kid to go through that. I want them to be empowered to be able to change their perception of who they are from, what they're hearing. So it's even a bigger passion than I thought or knew in the beginning.
Well, what you're doing is you're really making them stronger, because you're not telling them that they're perfect all the time or whatever. It's just giving them that kind of fortitude, that they have that confidence and that self-confidence, that when things don't go their way, or when they do kind of like fall down, literally and figuratively, they can get back up.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
You're getting me all excited about your work.
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm so excited. That's great. That's great. Well, I'm hoping it'll be a really amazing, long journey. So, but it all started just because of the International Day of Happiness. And so that's what's so exciting.
That is really amazing, this incredible program that you've developed. So now start talking a little bit more about your book, about your book readings, and some of the things that you're planning on doing.
Sure, sure. So this book, it's called Magic Thinking for Kids. It's a nonfiction book that actually teaches kids exactly what I went through with the kids in the schools at the end of the dance lesson. It's a picture book. It's from ages about 3, and I say 10 or 11, although like on Amazon, they don't really let you have that far of an age range. And it teaches them how to use their thoughts to change their feelings. And it just takes them through page by page, tells them to imagine it, to believe it, and that they can, make these new positive thoughts in their everyday life.
And what a wonderful thing to start them that young, before they have those hardwired belief systems in themselves, that they can't do certain things. So if somebody who is listening to this episode right now, where can they find your book?
So they can find the book on Amazon. They just Google my name, Marrielle Monte, or the name of the book, and or I have a website, marriellemonte.com.
Okay, and we will have that on the episode too, so they can find you. So what kind of advice or tips could you give a parent or a grandparent in how to help their child be more happy and to have those positive affirmations?
Mm-hmm. Good question. Besides buying the book, which I really think kids need it, because this tool they're going to use these tools when they learn them so young for the rest of their life. Before I get into what else, the brain changes at 7, 8 years old. So if we teach these children how to change their feelings by changing their thoughts between these ages of 2 to 8, it's going to be hardwired into their brain, just like you're teaching them how to tie their shoes, how to put on their clothes, brush their teeth. It's just, you never forget that. It's just going to be part of who they are. So that's why I think it's so important to teach them this young. And that's why I made the picture book. What I really think parents can do, it's a trickle down effect. I think parents really need to also know how their words are affecting kids. Mm-hmm. I really do. I think it's an awareness that the parents and the grandparents and pretty much everybody, how they're speaking to children, how it's going to affect them. Mm-hmm. And so besides that, I think it's great for them if they hear or see their children being negative towards themselves, to absolutely go in and say, well, that's not true. Mm-hmm. You are this, and start to help them change their brain, change their pathways, change the way they think about themselves. And they can't just tell them they're great all the time, because it's not good for, the child's not going to believe it, number one. Sometimes it makes them even go towards a negative about it. So they have to really point out all the great attributes. Get the child to say it. The child has to say the words. They have to get excited about it. They have to imagine being that. Once they imagine being that and seeing themselves happy, seeing themselves, being kind, and believing that it can be possible, that's when it will start to come into fruition.
The other thing I wanted to point out is if the parent is actually saying, now that's not true, and if they're really tuning in and becoming aware of how many times the child might be saying something negative about themselves, that is actually going to help the parent be more aware of how they might be talking to their child.
Oh, absolutely.
They might be saying things that are negative that they don't even realize that they're doing it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that parents just don't know how they're being negative. And, a lot of times it comes out of care and concern and safety issues,
Right.
But there's a certain line that, that you need to be aware of what's going to actually go and hurt the child instead of, being supportive.
Yeah, sometimes when I see a parent talking to a child and you can just see the child kind of like just crumble when they say something. And it's like, are you not seeing how your kid is responding to what you're saying? It's just,
Yeah, it breaks my heart when I see. Yeah, me too. It does. It just breaks my heart. In the back of the book, I did a little 2-page note to the parents. And so it's just from me, a parent, to the other parents as to how to help children incorporate this into their daily lives. And, it's not just for kids. It is for the parents as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it will help the whole family.
Well, that's wonderful work that you're doing. I think that you truly are a happiness ninja.
Thank you. I do love that little name you gave me.
Well, I really honestly believe that there's a warrior spirit in each and every one of us just waiting to come out. And we all find our way. And, maybe a warrior sounds like a funny word to use when you're talking about happiness, but the true spirit of the warrior is very loving, compassionate, looking out for other people. It's not about fighting or warfare. It's just having that spirit of being able to solve problems or see a problem and find a solution to it. And learn along the way for yourself too, and learn and grow as a human being, and being able to give back to humanity.
Oh, absolutely. I truly agree that that's what a true warrior is. And so who knows where the names could go? I don't know. I'll have to think of some other good ones. I like that happiness warrior.
Yeah, I love it.
I
really like that. That's a good one for you.
That's great. Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience, or any other tips or suggestions?
So I also believe that happiness comes from being grateful. And I think that when we are grateful and we realize how lucky we are, abundance fills our heart. And I think that once that starts to happen, that you seeing how grateful you are every day, it changes your brain. It changes your whole mindset of who you are and what you're living in, like the environment that you're living in. You can create that environment. And I think if everybody, before they go to sleep, they write 3 things that they were grateful for down on their phone, or I'd like it on a piece of paper. I think that's a better hand-mind connection. And then when they wake up, they write the first 3 things they think about that they're grateful for in the morning. In literally, I think it's 21 days, they'll become a happier person. And this is like a scientific experiment that has been very researched. So gratitude really will help change people's lives
So just in case anybody's listening to this episode and they're thinking, I'm not sure how that works out, or it's just, happy talk, it's something called neuroplasticity. So it is actually a scientific phenomenon that the brain is able to change and adapt and create new pathways, new ways of thinking, sensing, feeling, and moving during the entire course of the lifetime. So that's really what she's talking about when she says it's based on science. If you ever want to learn more about it, just go ahead and look up neuroplasticity. It gives you hope that, a lot of people will say, well, your age, especially, you won't be able to change, or you'll never be able to change your processes. And that's just not true. We've got an incredible amount of flexibility and malleability. But if you can teach your kid how to be happy and positive when they're very young, they don't have to go through some of the painful processes that some of us grown-ups did.
Oh, absolutely. Wouldn't that be amazing? Can you imagine the world that we would be a part of if the kids that are learning this now grow up and they're just wired differently, and their mindsets are different. It would just really change the world. It would change the world.
That gave me goosebumps.
I'm so happy to hear that. I really believe that. I really believe that.
Yeah, and it'd be a healthier, happier world too.
Absolutely.
So, Marrielle, I am so glad we finally got you on the show. I just love talking to you. I love your positive message. I love your happiness. So, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for having me. I was just honored that you asked me. So thank you. I really had such a ball.
Oh,
Thank you
great.
for helping me share my message.
And to my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. And remember to stay positive, keep moving, be happy, do the happy dance, whatever it means to you. And that is the way of the FemiNinja. And that's a wrap on another episode of the FemiNinja Project. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, be safe, be strong, and until next time, bye now.